Yo, still Bill, what's the deal, man? We back. I got something else I want to talk about, man, and that is Errol Spence allegedly being targeted for tszty, man, and I don't think that's a good idea. I think people have this misconception of tszty. He's a hype job, he's overrated, he's a bum. A lot of this is coming because he's an Aussie. He's an Aussie, and American. He was in a division that was heavily populated by American, American talent, and he was, somewhat signed to a promotional company that's really pro-America, and they really didn't like outsiders, like they were stepping on their toes, and he was really banging on Charlo, like, yeah, I need that, and they took offense to that. So they've had this, this preconceived notion of him that he's a hype job, he's this and that and the third. When in all actuality, nobody has ever really, nobody has touted him that high. We was impressed with what we were seeing. Man. These are the same motherfuckers who picked Tony Harrison to beat him, me being one of them. But he went in there, he was able to steamroll the nigga. You dig? He was able to steamroll the nigga. So they, when Sebastian Fundora beat him, they ignored the circumstances as to why he got beaten. They just focused on the fact that he got beaten. They jumped for joy with that. And then when Background went in there and did what he did to him, it exacerbated it that much more. Oh man, he is a hype job, he a bum, this and that and the third. And then, Sebastian goes in there and does to him what he did to him again, because he just so happens to start using his advantages to his advantage. And he hasn't had the best performances. He didn't really look the best with Joey Spencer, you dig? He still looked a little gun shy, but I wasn't, whatever the fuck ever with that. And I didn't watch his last fight, but people felt some type of way about that. All in all, this people think that this dude is highly overrated, and he's, vulnerable enough for someone like Spence to come back after not only a damn near 3-year layoff, but an integration fight into the, into a higher division that you're not accustomed to. You fought there before. You fought, you was a junior middleweight at one point in time in your career, but it's been so long since you made that. And the beating that you're coming back from, who's to say that, and you don't even have a trainer right now, man, so who's to say that you will even be as effective as you could have possibly been if you chose to fight him some years ago? I don't think this isn't no comeback fight. This isn't no tune-up or nothing like that. I still think tszty is still too dangerous for Errol Spence. They both have took beatings, but the difference is in between them 2.5. Well, it'll be 3 years in July. But if Errol Spence does come back, he's not going to fight till at the very least mid-late spring. tszty has been fighting. tszty fought twice. Was it twice last year? He fought twice last year. He fought Joey Spencer and he fought Sebastian Fundora last year. Year before that, he fought Background and Sebastian Fundora. He fought Tony Harrison the year before that in Australia and somebody else. So the point is, he's been active. He's had about 6 fights since Spence last fought. So let's say that he is, a shell of his former self. At the very least, he still has activity up under his belt. He still has a steady and consistent trainer. Spence doesn't have that at his disposal. Spence has been down for 2.5 years. I don't know what Spence is doing. I don't think this is a smart move. I don't think it's a smart move at all, man. Give him like a Lima or something like that. Somebody that, Boots fought. The dude that Boots fought. Give him somebody like that. And let him get his bearings back up under him, man, if he's going to come back and fight in the first place, man. The dude is staying in shape, man. He really is, but I just think fighting tszty is fool's gold, and you going to play yourself if you go in there and you fight that nigga. Because you've been out of the ring for too long and you're going up into a new division. You can say what you want to say about tszty. That's a champion right there. Now, y'all can act like that fight, the first fight with Fundora didn't happen in the way that it happened, but if tszty had not caught that foul in the first round, or the second round, that fight goes a completely different way. And because he knew he had to go into that rematch, I think that helped him prep, that prepped him to start using his natural abilities to his advantage. Now, who's to say that he'll use that? Who's to say that he'll use that the minute he gets hit by, somebody is able to find the shot and circumvent that, that 6'5" range, and he just goes right back into the phone booth and abandon ship with the game plan. But Tim Tszyu was flying his head. Tim Tszyu was still finding, he was still finding a home for them backhands. He was still finding a home for the jab. He busted Fundora up in the rematch before he got stopped. You dig? So, he has been doing it. He has been being a little bit more disciplined in his, in his game plan, and he's been a little bit more disciplined with using his ability, his natural advantages to his advantage. He has been in the past 2 fights we've seen it, but we don't know. Let's see over a duration of time. But at the very least, we can say that Tim Tszyu was the reason why he started fighting like that. He definitely is. Spence is not 6'5". Spence does not have that drag out reach advantage. He doesn't. He's going to be accessible, very accessible, and he's rusty. I'm sure he's in the gym sparring and everything. I'm sure he's in it, but the energy is different, man. I don't like discounting sparring. I've said this before. There's a lot of things you can take out of sparring. It tells a story, but you can't put everything in it, because sparring is a different story with the headgear and the gloves and just the overall atmosphere. Sparring is a more intimate and closed setting. Fight night in the arena is thousands of people in the arena watching you fight. You got to fight the crowd, the roar of the crowd. The crowd is against you. You get booed. Just energy. People's energy can fuck you up. So it's a different ball game, man. But I do think he is sparring. But we just don't know. I don't know where that man's mental was at. And you going in there trying to fight a Tim Tszyu as a combat fight, I just think it's fool's gold right now, because Tim Tszyu has been active. Man. So I really want to do, just get over yourself with this. I don't do tune-up shit. I'm not about to say you're playing yourself or nothing like that, but I do think it's, man, just humble yourself, man. Humble yourself. Ain't nothing wrong with a tune-up. Bud had a tune-up before he fought you. There's nothing wrong with a tune-up, man. It's a multitude of fighters who have tune-ups for an entirety of a career. You can have a tune-up. It doesn't hurt to have a tune-up, especially considering what you went through 2.5 years ago. Get you a tune-up, man. Tim Tszyu is not a tune-up. And it can go bad for you. It can go real bad for you. So, yeah, man, that's just how I'm feeling about it, man. Don't play yourself trying to be, I don't do tune-ups. You need to. All fighters need it. There ain't a goddamn thing wrong with it. You're not above the program. Nobody is above the program. Ain't nobody gonna think less of you because you got a tune-up. We understand it, man. I'm sure you gave your mom and pops and your rellos gray hair after watching what happened to you 2 Julys ago. What you went through, and what you experienced, and that was a life-altering beating, Brody. That was a life-altering beating. To the point where it's kept you benched for the X amount of years, and you've been pump faking about coming back, but you ain't really, I'm back. You need to recuperate, recalculate, and gather yourself. Swallow your pride, and get a tune-up in. Because Tim Tszyu is not a tune-up, and it's really going to be a wrap for you if you want to have a career after that. You fuck around and you get knocked out by Tim Tszyu. Don't play yourself, man. Get your ass a tune-up. Do not go in there and fight Tim Tszyu off the bat. I think that's going to be catastrophic for you. Because I thought he could have beat you when y'all was both at y'all apex. Now you inactive. He ain't looking as good as he once looked, but he's still active. Don't play yourself, champ. Go in there and get your ass a tune-up, and maybe it'd be on the greener pastures after that, man. That's how I'm feeling about it. I get what y'all think.